Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. This is the Sherborn Board of Health, and we are calling our board to order here at 7:05 p.m. Given this is a virtual meeting, board members shall announce their presence by roll call announcement.
So, Constantine, aye.
Present.
Sorry.
Julie Dreyfus present.
Becca Honeywell present.
Daryl Beardsley present.
Do we have any unanticipated items within the last 48 hours? There are none to my knowledge.
Nor to mine.
Okay, looks like we can move ahead with our agenda. Tonight we have a variance hearing at 7:30, which we're going to hopefully be able to get to that right on time. First up, we have Tom Curran, our food inspector here. So why don't we take Tom's topics first? And I see we have a number of folks here for Silverwood, so why don't we take that first? So you guys can go back to the rest of your summer evening. Tom, do you want to start off the discussion and introduce the topic, or how would you like us to proceed?
Sure. So I was at Silverwood Farm on July 3rd for an inspection for a temporary food permit that had been issued to Tailgate Gourmet. I conducted the inspection. I met with the owner of Tailgate Gourmet who signed for the inspection. I met with Miss Laura Rainey, who's the manager at Silverwood. I went into the barn kitchen area. Laura routinely invites me in there to to finalize my inspection reports. I stated my intent and reasoning for being there, and I also did conduct an inspection of the barn area. I had conducted a previous inspection of the barn on May 2nd, 2023. And in that discussion with one of the owners, Mr. Hudson Walker, I advised him to fill out an application and apply for a food permit. I was under the presumption that a permit had been filed and an application had been filed. I think I was mistaken on that. Irrespective of that, I feel like the event venue should have a permit issued by the board, so it complies with certain requirements in the food code, whether that be employee health policy for folks that are working around or with food, choke save certifications. I think it's beneficial to have someone from Silverwood on staff that has a certified food protection manager certification for an extra level of oversight, and allergen awareness certification, and means to clean up if someone were to vomit. There's a requirement in the food code that if someone gets sick, that there's procedures in place to clean it up, to hinder the spread of norovirus or any other virus that could aerosolize and make other people sick and cause an outbreak. So I understand there's some complexities and different layers of other issues and agreements as far as, I believe the Title V is still in violation, so I did write that on my inspection. I had seen the kitchen being used at one point this year to assemble a cheese platter, so I was under the presumption that it would have to follow the requirements of a commercial licensed kitchen if it's going to be used for that purpose. However, it's not fitted out to be used for that purpose, so I wrote the corresponding violations that would bring it into compliance if that's what the plan is for the space.
Thanks, Tom. Daryl, I know you actually wanted to lead this topic, so I can hand it over to you to lead it. I didn't mean to start it instead of having you start the topic.
Okay. I think so. It is a rather complicated site in that it has mixed uses, some private, some business, some agricultural. So it's not a simple site, but there are things that we've talked about over the years that, guidelines for what can and can't be done, and depending under what circumstances and what provisions have been made for that. So I think it's probably too complex for us to work all of that out this evening, because some may involve septic changes, or there's just a lot to be addressed. So I think Tom gave a good overview of some of the issues, and in our 2023 minutes, some of these things had come up in the past. And there are things that are perceived as gray areas. In any case, there's also, I learned about another option that might help for the property and for managing these things, is that there are people within the state who are certified food inspectors or have experience being food inspectors in Massachusetts, and they may be able to serve as consultants and help walk Silverwood through, if you want to do this, then you must do that kind of thing. Certainly the Board of Health in Sherborn is happy to participate in that, but I think that might be a possible starting point that might be easier, because in a way we don't want to craft the things that happen there. It's more for coming to us. Like, there's a limit to how much we can get involved in implying that we're specifying
Why
choices
is
or
that,
maybe
Karen?
options.
I'm so confused. I thought our job was to request that they meet the code. So I don't really understand why this is complicated. That's kind of our job. We've guided them.
No, that's not, sorry, then let me go back up a little bit. I am talking about to work out all the details of what options they may want to pursue, that having someone that's not the Board of Health would be better to work through all those details. We're happy to review options that they may identify and want to talk through as to whether that's compliant. But
I
it
don't think
gets
this is
tricky
that
if we're
complicated. These
No,
guys
no,
are
no, no,
very
you're-
smart. They're very smart. It's very simple. There's a code in Massachusetts, and we have regulations in Sherborn. You just need to meet them. Why is that complicated? I'm so confused.
And I will
I agree with you to some degree, but the issue is that there could be requirements that would make them want to choose to operate their business differently. I don't want to insert my personal opinion and learned opinion on this, is I don't want to insert into that level of decision making. We can help with that, but I think for laying out a plan for moving forward, it would probably be helpful to have an outside party assist. But I
Do they
see
think
what-
that are they saying they don't understand what our guidelines are? Is it too complicated? I think they understand.
Okay,
I don't
then maybe
understand
we
why-
don't. I was just
I mean, if
offering
they're
it as an
asking for
option.
clarification, then, we can give them advice, but I think it's quite straightforward. I think that they just need to meet the codes, and I think they're very intelligent, and it's not that complicated.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment then on the board?
What I think, I think maybe the point that you are making, Daryl, that might not be coming through clearly here is adjudicating compliance is our role. Helping with all of the tiny steps that have to take place to go from where Silverwood is today to where they need to be in full compliance. We are happy to help make clear what compliance looks like, but there are consultants, and there is a state list of consultants that they could utilize to help them in that process. And that would be far more appropriate than us coming in and telling them all of the little steps that they need to do. that's kind of outside of our role. So I think you both are saying the same thing, which is, yes, Rebecca, it is our job to regulate them for compliance. And I think, Daryl, you're simply saying that the path from here to there is probably best led with a consultant, if that is something that that Lisa and Jonathan are interested in doing. So but I did hear two questions then. So let's go to Lisa and Jonathan. One, if there are specific questions about the regulations, I think that's what Rebecca was asking. And then two, we're suggesting to you this idea of a consultant to help you, just to hear your thoughts on that. So why don't we start with the first one?
Okay, well, thank you very much for meeting with us. We appreciate it, and for reading the emails back and forth and some of the background and from our perspective. We really appreciate that, and it is our intention to absolutely follow the code. And I think up until the most recent inspection of our, private kitchen in our barn, we thought that we were being compliant. So we admit that, there was a mistake made with the one cheese board, but for the past several years with our, every inspection, that's probably the only issue that we've heard of that, that would, I guess, lead to this discussion. But we got the recommendation from Tom for Laura to get her serve safe, and she went ahead and did that, and we have very strict guidelines in our contract with the caterers and with the parties who are running our outdoor facility, that no one is allowed in the kitchen or to utilize the kitchen. So we understand that, and we're very open and receptive to all of that being inspected and holding the caterers accountable to that. But as of right now, and up until this point, we've had no desire right now to turn our kitchen into a commercial kitchen, nor did we think that we needed to, or that that was the hope of the Board of Health. So this is like a hobby run amok for us. So we basically are funding any type of, funds on this farm, and it's expensive, but we do it. We think it's good for the environment. We think it's good for the community. We enjoy the farm, and we enjoy providing the community, the council on agings in local communities, the local schools. The list goes on who we provide our certified organic produce to. It was not our intent or hope to have an event venue, but it's become necessary just to help us make ends meet to keep this farm afloat. So, we don't want to become solely this event venue. We just are doing this to try to continue operating as a farm. So right now, our hope is to just be able to meet all of the guidelines and restrictions and regulations that are put forth by the Board of Health to ensure that we're doing everything to your satisfaction. And so this most recent inspection of our barn kitchen, as if it was part of this event, was worrisome to us, because it certainly was not our intent whatsoever to be using that kitchen for this event, nor was it being used for this event. So I guess that's where we stand on this one point right here. If in fact, Laura made a mistake, she is extremely sorry about that, and was not told at the time that that was a mistake, and would have absolutely stopped doing it at the time. But she has received her serve safe, and we realized that that wasn't proper for her to do that, and we've absolutely are going to make sure that doesn't happen again. But I guess that answers the first question. The second question, in terms of hiring a consultant, as I said, we've already put an enormous amount of investment into our farm, and I'm not sure what that would entail in terms of cost, nor in terms of us closing the gap to meet your regulations. Because right now, all we want to do is meet your regulations to be an outdoor event venue. Going forward, at some point, we may want to invest more money and make it more of a, I guess, increase the percentage of our revenue that comes from the event venue, but there's only a certain amount of percentage of revenue that we can get from that in order to be, an operating farm. So I guess that's where we stand right now. And Jonathan can speak more if he would like to, but I guess lastly, I would request that we take off the agenda for right now the review of our private barn kitchen in a public meeting until we further understand why that was done and it makes, legal sense to discuss it publicly.
Maybe I can add a little bit to that. So I think, first of all, thank you for all of the input on the efforts that we're making at the farm. I think we do have a reasonably clear understanding of what we need to do. The issues are water coming in, is it permitted properly? Waste going out, is it permitted properly? Food being served, is it being served in a compliant and healthful manner? Those are the things that we're focused on. As Lisa mentioned, right now we have an outdoor event venue. We are crystal clear that people should not be, assembly usage should not be taking place in the barn. There is an open question as to what the capacity of the building as an agricultural building can be used for. It's 16 people. So that's an area of uncertainty, which we'd like some clarity from either the board or the building inspector or somebody as to when it's a 16-person capacity building. Is it, if a person from the wedding comes in and gets changed in the barn, is that okay? If they use the toilet, is that okay? Is that assembly usage or is that incidental usage to the farm activity? That's an open question. We're not having 100 people coming in the barn using the toilets. That's not the case. There may be the occasional situation where somebody, without our knowing about it, uses the toilet. It's not like we're offering the toilets up for usage by a large group of people. We understand we don't want the septic system used for that. It's our septic system, right? That's not what we want. We have a trailer on site to deal with waste product. I'm actually curious to know what the Type 5 failure was. We've got a trailer on site with 4 bathrooms for use by the outdoor events. We've got a disabled portable toilet on site for use by outside events. People bring, for the most part, bottled water on site to use for the events. We're having all of the vendors that come to the events get certification and a food permit. So we're trying to understand what we need to do to make sure that we're compliant and consistent for our outside events. I think and sort of Tom alluded to it there, I don't know why Tom was in the kitchen taking pictures of the cupboards. I don't know why I was in the kitchen treating it like an inspection. We've not asked for that facility to be inspected. We know, it's obvious that facility is not a commercially compliant kitchen. We know that, it's clear. So we don't want a report or an inspection of that kitchen. If we need to get spill kits or kits for use in the outside event, great, we'll do that. And Laura's got a certification for that. But we are not using that building for outside events. So we don't want it being inspected. We object to Tom coming in the building and looking around, sort of leaning on Laura's friendship with him to come and take those pictures. Why was that done?
In addition, it was done at the time that the wedding ceremony was happening. So there was no, ability for Laura as our venue manager to stop Tom, nor was she aware of it going into our barn. And then furthermore aware of the fact that he was then not only going into the kitchen, but also conducting a formal inspection to be sent off to the Board of Health and the building inspector, et cetera.
But as a practical matter, we have people coming on site, food vendors that are on site for a day. So, I appreciate Tom's got to go on site, inspect those people and get them compliant. Many of them have certificates from other towns or other places, but that's something that we would like to figure out. Okay, how do we get that to be a better process for Tom so we can more efficiently make sure that people serving food on the facility are compliant? But coming into our barn where we're not looking for a permit for that barn, we don't understand why that was the case. And we disagree with that report. We don't think that report should have been issued. We'd actually like it retracted if possible, please, because it was not asked for. It's not something that we applied for. To go to Rebecca's point, we know what we're supposed to apply for. We did not apply for that. We didn't want that. So we'd like it retracted.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I've not been to this area, so I can't say from personal experience that that I know which part of it is being used when you have a commercialist event versus which part is private. And it sounds, if you have toilets and if you've been doing all those things that you've just listed, sounds like you're doing an excellent job to provide the facilities and things that meet the intent of these regulations, many of which are written at the state level. And so our hands are a little bit tied because we're trying to meet those, regulations, but also the town. I know you did a lot of all those things were because of the conversations we had previously having to do with the fact that Sherborn has, private water supplies. So I think that's great that you've done that. And I really appreciate it. From my memory of our past conversations, it sounds like you've made a big effort. And I think that's great. But what I don't understand, what might help me is understanding whether what's private and what's public. And when you do, when the site is used for one of these events, is the food preparation and all that stuff done there? Because I think that was where the conversation was surrounding that. Because it's possible that if it's clearly marked what's public and what's private, that might make it easier for like our inspector who's just doing his job or what he perceives is what he's supposed to do, of knowing which part is used for the public events where his responsibilities kick in, and where our purview is, because obviously if it's your private kitchen and nobody else besides you are using it, then you're right, it's private property. So the fine line is, if it's clearly visible, like on the property, and or if there's a way to maybe label it so that that's clear, so you don't feel like you've been had your privacy violated.
I think it's very clear. My guess is Tom knows what's public and what's private. You can see in Jonathan's picture, the tent is public, the barn is private. The restroom trailers, and which has 5 restrooms in it, and the ADA accessible portable toilet is right outside of the tent, behind the barn. And our contract, and Laura meets with both the caterer and the people renting it for an event function numerous times. And it's very clear in our contract that it's the tent, the land in front of the tent, and the portable restrooms. In fact, Laura puts huge signs on the door saying, "Do not enter our barn." So, and there's one entryway into our barn and the others are locked. So she needs to keep that one area open just so she can monitor the event and make sure that we're keeping within our sound restriction and make sure we're keeping within the time constraints that we, adhere to, and also just to make sure no one is swinging from the tent poles. So she's our event manager, making sure that those aren't happening. And kind of the voice of our farm right now for these events. So, but it's very clear to, I think, everyone what's public and what's private. We're not even a public farm. We don't open up our farm to the public. We have around 50 to 60 share members, and it's only open to them on Wednesdays as they come in throughout the day to pick up their share of the harvest. And other than that, we're not a farm that is public where people can just come onto our property. So, but I believe that Tom understands what's public and what's private. Is that right, Tom?
Actually, it's not, because this is the first time that it's been conveyed to me that this is a private space. Certainly, it's within your right to refuse entry. I was invited into that.
Right. I don't think we're given that right. And I do think
Yeah.
that the kitchen is not a commercial kitchen, nor have we ever asked that to be a commercial kitchen. So I think that that is not a commercial kitchen, and that that we know it's not a commercial kitchen, nor that we're using it for that.
Okay, I'd like to say, let's give Tom a chance to speak.
Okay,
you need to
so
be
I
recognized
certainly
by one of
respect
the
you within your
co-chairs.
rights to declare that as a private area. I would not enter it if that was told to me on upon inspection. You're within your right to do that. There's stipulations in the code where if a Board of Health member or an agent acting on their behalf is refused entry into a space, then there's other procedures through the court to get an administrative warrant if we feel we need to go in there after the fact. That would be a little bit extreme, but the reason I went in there is to, and I've been invited in there several times by your staff. So this is the first time, unbeknownst to me, that this has been declared as an area that I'm not allowed to go into. Move forthcoming, I will not go into that area. But this is news to me that this was a private space. The other thing is, you're saying it's a private space. However, I saw several members of the wedding party going in and out of the space. So I guess we need to decipher what is a private space and what is not, and what can be used for events and what will not be used for events, because it's become increasingly confusing to what areas are being used and which areas are not being used. So it's either a private space or it's not a private space. When I see members of the party going in and out of the building, to me, that's really not a private space.
Well,
The other thing
but
is,
they've rented it for their private event.
okay,
It's our understanding that,
okay,
we're allowed to have up to 16 people in the barn and that
right,
so they have rented the farm. So in that case, just like our share members, that to us means that, they can come in and look in the mirror to see what they look like or line up to do a procession. So,
right.
I think also can you hear me? I'm sorry. I don't know if it's clear. I think one of the problems also is when the space is involved with serving, the only time that the Board of Health would ever need to get involved would be if there's like something unplanned that happens, like food contamination or, something, some kind of an epidemic or whatever. And so most of these regulations are designed to try to prevent that from happening. And so his job is to make sure you're in compliance so that the state or the town, and in this case, it's the Board of Health, can say, well, we did everything possible to prevent a problem, and things happen. But I don't know where the fine line is if it's private, but it's only being used by you. It's true that it's private, but if it's a space that is completely closed off during public functions, then it's still private. But if it's actually used by the party holding the wedding or the caterer that's serving the food, I don't know where it becomes public, because it is possible that something could happen that could affect more than 12 people, in which case it might actually become a public space, even though you never have more than 12 people in it. So this is the kind of thing that would possibly be clearly defined somewhere. And maybe Tom, you already know that, but I also think that this is a tricky thing, because once that space is being used to prepare food, which is served to a larger event, then it may actually qualify as a public space, in which case we're in a difficult position, because obviously we don't want to invade your privacy, but we also have a responsibility from whatever we can do that's within our guidelines to protect the community or your public from some preventable thing that happens or that goes wrong. And so that's where it's tricky, and I don't know where the rules are, but that's my only thoughts on it.
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I, respect that. And I mean, the one thing that is absolutely the case is that we do not let caterers inside our kitchen or our barn. So if we need to put guidelines or get approved that we allow, some of the members of the wedding party to come in to look in a mirror. We've got some mirrors in the barn, or to line up for a procession, and we need to get some sort of approval on that, then please let us know how we go about doing that, and we'll apply for that type of usage. But in terms of the caterers, the food is not The caterer's food is absolutely not being prepared in our kitchen or our barn, and they are not allowed in there. They're not allowed, they have to take out all waste. They have to, and I included in the email our guidelines. I'd love for you to review our contract regarding it and let us know if there's anything more that we need to add to it. But it is a signed contract, and a signed contract by the party who's renting our space. So I'd love any input if we need to make adjustments to it or changes or add more regulations to it. And it's included in the email that I sent out. I don't know if you were on it, but I did send it to all the email addresses that I had.
So something that concerns me is Tom did observe people apparently not part of the wedding, not part of your staff, going to use the restroom, which is perhaps something that people have a hard time identifying with, even why they would not be permitted to use a restroom. And therefore, what kind of protections can be put in there, because that use by an event is not okay with our septic requirements. It's really putting water quality in jeopardy by doing that.
Yeah, and if
So
you,
that may be some source of confusion. For
Yeah, I
people.
understand.
And there need to be more measures, because we can also see that there's confusion, as you pointed out, that vendors are getting lined up a year in advance. They forget to contact us at least 30 days before the event, and often staff is scrambling to try to get permits set up and vendors reviewed before they come to provide food. And then sometimes they miss on the things that they are supposed to be doing, like being in 100% attendance of the food that they are going to be serving, and other kind of waste management issues and what have you. So there
Okay.
are clearly things that, you are trying and you have it written, but there might need to be more things, or maybe the bathrooms need to be locked and only accessible by key. There needs to be something else that happens. And Tom, was there some mention of the use of the dishwasher by some of the caterers or other food
No.
providers who are coming in? Is that an issue too?
I did not witness that. I just
Okay.
did write a code violation on there for to get a thermometer for the dishwasher if it was going to be used for commercial use. But if it's not, then
Okay.
then that's a private space. The other
Okay.
concerns on gray water disposal I have is, well, first of all, when you have bar service there, Lisa and Jonathan, I know that you pull liquor permits, temporary liquor permits with the select board. Are those your staff that bartend, or do you bring in somebody to do that, or?
they're hired by the event, the people who are renting the farm, not the barn, the farm, the outdoor
Okay.
space. They're not ours, and they're required to get in touch with the select board and get the liquor license.
Okay. I would suggest that they might have to get a temporary food license too, and then there should be some management surrounding like gray water disposal, as far as like any wastewater that the bar would generate, like melted ice or contaminated ice, that make sure that it's not, I mean, if it's clean ice and it goes on the ground, it could percolate through the soil, it's probably not a big deal. But if it's contaminated ice, or like, half drunk drinks and things like that, that we have some sort of a caveat in there where they dispose of that liquid waste. I don't know if your Title V is equipped to handle that. Generally we would have like some sort of a mop sink where we could bail a bus bucket into or something like that. But, again, this is a unique kind of setup to all of us. So, I don't know if there's any workaround where we could figure that out as a suggestion.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fine. I'd be happy to discuss what else we need to do with the bartender service. And with regards to, but was it Daryl who was speaking? I'm not sure, just before you, Tom.
Yes, maybe.
Oh, okay. We state very clearly too, and I please encourage everyone to read the contract that we have, and Laura goes over this in detail with the people running the space, but we spell out exactly why they're not allowed to use the restrooms. So that's in the first paragraph that I sent at the very bottom of the email, the first part of the excerpt from the contract, and we're very clear as to why we're not allowed to use it and that they're not allowed to use it. And I'm going to let Laura speak in a minute because she can talk, she was there firsthand and can talk about the fact that no one did use our toilets, but we would be happy to go ahead and get locks if that's what we need and put locks on them to make sure that no one slips by us. But we personally rent. We don't even require, because we're trying to adhere to these regulations, we actually personally rent the trailer ourselves. So we're paying for an enormous amount of money to have that restroom trailer on site with 5 restrooms in it, as well as the ADA portable toilet on site as well. So yeah, and Laura has huge signs on the door saying no one is allowed in and no one's allowed to use the restrooms. And we can go ahead then and buy locks as well to make sure that we're meeting those regulations. And I'm going to have Laura speak because she's saw firsthand and can talk to the fact that no one did use the restroom facilities at that event, nor at any others that that we hold. So I can't remember if there was some other comment. What else did you say, Daryl? There was something else.
Well, actually, I'll make another comment, and that is that, you know, some of these are details that we will need to work through, and probably this meeting is not going to be the place where we come to, you know, get everything settled. So just this will not be the end of our efforts to work with you to figure some of these things out.
Okay.
So I'm cognizant of the time. We have a scheduled variance hearing that started 11 minutes, was supposed to start 11 minutes ago. I think as a board, let's just pause for a second and decide, can we wrap up this conversation in the next 3 minutes so that we no longer keep those residents waiting? Or do we want to table this and take our variance hearing? I hate to stop in the middle. I'm hoping we can just wrap this up in 3 minutes. And I apologize to 22 Curve Street and everyone here for that.
I would like to request again just to have the public review of our kitchen not on today's agenda.
Well, I'm afraid the agenda's posted. I think at this point, I think we
Well, it said that you were going to vote on it. I didn't hear a vote. So
oh, we're not. No, we're not. We don't vote on our agenda. We vote to amend the agenda. I think at this point, we have some differences in observations, but I think ultimately it looks like we are discussing about, it's clear that the barn is not allowed for private use or for, excuse me, public use. It looks like there can be some confusion when people are actually in the space about where they can and cannot go, and maybe we can talk about details there. But I think in general, we're in agreement about the goals, and maybe we need to talk about those offline. I think maybe outside of this meeting. Again, I don't know, you'd ask the cost of a consultant. I don't know that answer. What we're trying to do is give you resources to support you. That is our goal. And so we're saying those people exist. What I'm hoping that we can do now is agree to continue this conversation offline. I think, Tom, thank you for bringing some of these to our attention. And it sounds like we're narrowing in on where we need to continue to work with you, particularly on the use of the barn space. Does that sound good if we continue with you offline, or is there something else you'd like to add to this conversation before we move to our variance hearing?
I think we're okay continuing it offline. I think we understand what we need to do. I don't know that we need a consultant. We're dealing with water coming in, waste going out, food service. I think we understand that. I think there's some clarity needs to be figured out around, you know, how the building is being used given the occupancy requirements of that. But for events, we're focused on making sure that any vendors that come on site are 100% compliance from the food permit perspective. Tom raised some good points about some of the activity there. It's great to sharpen our attention around some of that. So we're happy to talk about that offline and make any adjustments that we need to make.
And I would say, based on what you've said, it sounds clear to me that you were not looking to expand your activities. So that does make it much simpler than the concept of you did want to move into some of these areas, greater use of the barn, et cetera, and the kitchen in there and the facilities in there. Minus that, it is more straightforward, I think.
Yeah, and
and
absolutely, if we do get to the point we want to move forward, we would absolutely be working with an architect and, you know, the Board of Health and Planning Board and whoever else we need to be working with. So, but as of right now, we're not at that point.
And I think that I think it's important that maybe you realize that I think our food inspector was just trying to make sure that the part of the use of this space that does apply to a larger number of people is under his purview. And so I think that it's great. And I appreciate the large effort you're making. So that's great. But I do think that it's appropriate for him to, you know, to recognize that he was just doing his job for what he believed to be the area affected. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Lisa and Jonathan, for your time, and thank you, Tom. We will be following up with you offline.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for your input. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. And just, you know, all these details aside, my working relationship with you folks is very important to me. And, you know, up until this point, the avenue of communication has never been hindered. Laura has been tremendously supportive through a very busy event season, and that's something I greatly appreciate. So I'm happy to avail myself offline with any further questions or assistance that you might need. That's what I'm here for. So I just wanted to convey that to you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Very
you, Tom.
good.
Should we come back on then at the bottom of the agenda then I'm assuming when it's discussed again?
Um,
Can you give me an estimate time to get back on?
That is just the ratification of the permit for the Tailgate Gourmet. That permit was issued. That's a ratification. I really wish I could tell you, Lisa, when we were going to get down to that. But I don't think that you would need to come back on for that. That is usually a pretty standard thing.
Okay, I thought that was to go over I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought that was to go over the review of our kitchen, our barn kitchen.
Nope.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. Okay,
That was what we were doing here. That is just, we ratified the permit after the fact.
got it. Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you. We are now 17 minutes behind. My apologies to everyone here for 22 Curve Street. Let's see if we still have our engineer, Mr. Dickinson.
Yes, I'm on.
Still here. Okay. So, and now I'd like to open the variance hearing for 22 Curve Street with the engineer, Mr. Dickinson. Eric, would you like to present?
Yeah, that's fine if you guys can, yeah. So, yeah, if you want to go to the over, yeah.
No.
That one. No, the one that was the
This is page 2 instead of page 1.
yeah, the site plan.
Okay. Hold on a moment. I accidentally closed that. Steve, are you able to pull that up more quickly than I am?
I could try pulling it up.
Let's see if this pops up right away. I have.
22 Curve, yeah, I've got it. Want me to share? Oh no, I think you've got it.
Coming, but you know, mine's just slower. Why don't you do it? It is there, but go ahead.
Eric, would you prefer to share the screen so you
Yeah, I can do that.
I mean, I actually was thinking about it. It might be easier for the engineer, so that way when we are asking questions, he can be in charge of the cursor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yes,
Okay.
I need to zoom in a little bit, but
Okay. So I'm Eric Dickinson with Civilized Solutions. I also saw the applicant on Ron Bijol. The applicant bought this property about It's a 3-bedroom home. He bought it 10 years ago from an investor. The investor was trying, he did a lot of test pits. I think there's 8 or 9 test pits. He was trying to make money on the property. And then I guess things went south. So he decided to go to avoid a pump chamber and use an alternative system. And he stuck with a 3-bedroom house. Since then, in 2015, the homeowner purchased it. He's added a level. He's interested now. His family's growing. He's interested in adding a 4th bedroom. He also has his I think it's mother-in-law living in the house. That being said, he approached me. I designed a compliance system. There's no offsets. There's no variances to anything to anybody's well. The groundwater is offset is local and state compliant. The only variance that we are requesting is the 5-foot to groundwater rule that Sherborn has, but that was previously granted. But I understand that now it's a new application, a new design, so that's the only request we have. He's unsure at this time, and Ron might want to speak to this. What exactly he is going to do with if he's going to add on to the house, if he's going to convert a room, it's still kind of up in the air. But at the present time, he would just like to replace the system with a 4-bedroom system. And I believe the testing that was done by the engineer in 2015 was in the testing season. Regardless, but that's everything in a nutshell.
And since we don't see this too often, Eric, could you just explain why there's the system towards the back of the plan?
Oh, yes.
Up higher, just because we don't
Yes.
see this too often.
Okay, so yeah, that's so when you design for new construction, which we're adding a bedroom here, so it has to comply with new construction criteria, which if you use an IA system, which it is, it's the Elgin trenches, the DEP requires you to demonstrate that you could construct a fully a traditional system on the property with a reserve area. So that's up there, that's trenches with reserve area interfingered. So it does have the capability, the property does have the capability, the ability to it's there to construct that system if they're in the event of a failure.
Okay, and then Mark, can you address with the so what we think of as new construction in town versus this? So this is really the expansion, the +1 bedroom.
That is correct.
Situation.
And yeah, and so for this one here, if they were willing to design without Elgins and use trenches, then they could get by the requirement to show a secondary area for a reserve with the conventional system. In this case, they want to use the innovative alternative technology, which is the Elgin. So in that case, they have to show an area that could support a conventional system in case the innovative alternative technology ever failed, per state code.
But this isn't wholly new construction. This is still a repair
Yes.
replacement.
The add one.
It's a replacement, correct. It's not
Yeah.
fully new construction. That's a very good point. The house has been
Okay.
existing since they did the soil testing and so it's a repair, but now they want to add an additional bedroom, and the board would have allowed it. Our regulations, depending on what they're asking for, is they're usually waived, even with one additional bedroom, as long as it's not affecting the abutters. So it's a very common procedure the board has followed through the years, but in this case, they're not meeting the state code unless they show a conventional system, and that's why they have the 2 systems.
So, and that gets tricky. And the state's posted long list of IA technologies and conditions under which they could be used and applied to. It really, I don't know if some people might have a memory for that, but it's just helpful to go and read which of the IA technologies would then lead to the requirement to be able to demonstrate this.
I've got a question on the differences between the two leaching fields. The Elgin one, that shows 3 trenches, and the conventional one, the reserve one, shows 5. Why is there such a big difference?
Well, the Elgin or the traditional one actually only has 3 trenches as well. It's just the other trenches in between are reserve area trenches.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm just reading it wrong. Okay.
part of the allowance by the DEP, if you use the IA technology with this specific technology, even for a new construction, you get a 40% reduction in size. So
Okay.
you don't get the offset to groundwater, but you get the reduction in the size. That's why it fit better outside of those well radiuses in that area right there. And that's exactly where the existing system is right now.
In the reserve area?
Actually, where I'm proposing the existing system is actually right in here now. So it's going to be removed and replaced with this system.
Got it.
Yeah. Which may be a savings. He may be able to reuse some of the Title V gravel if it passes the sieve analysis.
So the existing system would go beyond what's being depicted for the new system, the borders of it?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
So where the Elgin system's going to go,
Yes.
is the current system actually larger than what's being shown there?
I think it's roughly this. It might be a little bit smaller.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's only a 3-bedroom, but it's approximately the same size. Because that type of technology is also granted the 40% reduction.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
I had a quick question, Eric. The
Yeah.
ledge face that's above existing grade.
Yes.
Okay. And it doesn't look like there was any sign of refusal in any of the test pits.
No,
Yeah.
it is interesting.
Yeah, it was just shocking to.
Yeah. That's a very reputable company though that did the testing. So that engineer is I would definitely agree with his work.
Are there further questions from the board?
One thing that I'd like to bring up, Title V requires no grading within 5 feet of the property line. There's a note on the side right here. Currently, there's an issue with the abutter there between the properties where it floods this whole area right here. And the existing grading is going that way. And believe it or not, his grading is also kind of directed into this area. So they're going to work together to try to drain the water out of to get the water to flow out of this area, not towards his home. I don't know if Ron wants to speak to that, but I did put a note on the plan that they're regarding an agreement letter. I just don't want anything to come back and somebody to say you pushed water toward into my property. That's why I added that note. But I'm not sure that he has the agreement letter as of yet. Oh.
That's correct. I don't have an agreement letter, but we are in agreement that we're going to work together to divert the water away from his driveway. So we're not sure if we're going to do a culvert or a retaining wall with a more expensive drainage system, because he needs to look at that when he comes home every day. So we're going to we're going to price out our options and then either through the as-built process notify the board as to what we decided.
That can be a condition to the approval. You will need to swale if you're within 5 feet of the new grading for the new septic system. That's a requirement in Title V. So if your new grading goes more than within 5 feet of the property line, you're going to need to swale. If that happens, put in a swale.
Correct.
Right, but we could put a culvert or some other drainage system.
Not without approval through the Board of Health. We don't want any other structure interfering with the septic leaching field or carrying any leachate through another system. So that can't be done without approval. The only thing that can be done is a swale, an above ground swale that doesn't affect the septic system. And we can look at other ideas if your engineers wish to propose it, but at this present time, it has to follow Title V, the state code. It can only be a swale.
And is the neighbor here by any chance?
No, he's not on.
Okay.
There's a real problem over there, isn't there, with flooding now? Currently.
There is. They've actually worked with the DPW. A lot of it, the runoff comes from Curve Street itself down their property. So they've tried a number of different things, working with the DPW to try to mitigate their issue. It's been resolved partially, but not entirely. So we have no issue with the swale. It's more of a cosmetic issue on their part. So we're trying to be considerate. So we'll have a conversation with our neighbors and we'll notify you. But right now we'll just assume that we're going to go with the swale.
Okay, very good.
Are there any other abutters that have any questions? I'm not seeing any hands. And if you can't raise your virtual hand, you can always unmute yourself. Okay. Why don't we go through and vote on the variances? Can I have a motion to grant a variance to section 8.02 to allow the SAS to be in an area with less than 5 feet of natural grade above high groundwater?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye. Sorry.
Carol
forget-
Beardsley, aye.
And that is our only variance. So with that, I would like to close the variance hearing for 22 Curve Street. And Mark,
Yes.
looks like the plans are ready for approval, but we have a condition to add.
A few things, actually. Deed restrictions. One deed restriction will need to be added for the use of innovative alternative technology, which is the Elgin system. And the other one is this has been designed without the design for a garbage grinder, so the deed recording prohibiting a garbage grinder are the two deed recordings. And then the conditions come up with the use of changing the house from a 3 to a 4 bedroom, and the owner's explained he's not ready yet for the design of that, but we would need to see that and approve of that, which is common, but to recognize that presently the house has not been added on to, and it's expected to be an accessory dwelling unit, which is fine. But we would have to see the design of that accessory dwelling unit to see how many rooms are in it, and obviously follow the new state codes in respect to that. So that may just be a note for it at this time, but the two deed recordings are definites. And the perk test, there are 2 perk tests that were not done in the proposed secondary area for a conventional septic system. Those would have to be completed prior to the plans being released. No different from how we do it with deed recordings. The plans don't get released until work is asked for the same condition for the perk test. that are required in the area of the secondary system area.
Okay, I agree with that. The any future changes to the house should just be going through the normal building application process, so maybe not a condition of release of these plans. And then
Correct. Yeah.
regarding the swale, is there any timing issue on that? Or
There's not.
It needs to be verified, whatever decision they reach,
exactly.
plan they reach has to come
When
back.
when they decide on the final grading, right now, the way it exists, as long as it's 5 feet from the property line, that suffices per state code, but they may wish to design something and provide it to us before they complete the final grading. So that would it would be advisable to go through Eric and myself prior to any decisions being made. And if needed, the Board of Health.
I didn't show any topography over there. Would you like that captured in the as-built?
Yes, you'll capture that in the
Yeah.
final grade as-built. And again, you do show the new grades within 5 feet of not within, but 5 feet
Yeah.
outside of the property line. But you're right, and I appreciate both you and the owner recognizing a drainage problem in that area, so that it leaves us some opportunity to move forward and find the best solution.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So it sounds like I have 4 conditions here. Is everybody else counting that? So let's just review. It will be a deed restriction for the IA system, a deed restriction, prohibition for the garbage grinder, a condition that the 2 perk tests in the secondary area need to be performed before release. And then finally, once the swale design is agreed upon by the neighbors, that design needs to be verified with our agent that is compliant with Title V.
Yes.
Did I get them all? All right. So let's put it into a motion. I move to approve the plans for a 22 Curve Street conditional upon 1, a deed restriction for an innovative alternative system, 2, a deed restriction prohibiting the installation of a garbage grinder, 3, the condition before permit release that the 2 percolation tests need to be performed in the secondary area as designed on the plan, and 4, that the swale design for the flooding must be verified with the health agent prior to permit release.
Would you like me to stop
Is
sharing?
that prior to permit release, Mark?
Prior to the plan release. Plan release.
Okay. Okay.
Does anybody want to move that motion or have a friendly amendment?
Seconded.
So moved.
We did that in an interesting
Did we say it at the same time again?
we did second and then a motion, but I guess that works. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks so much, Eric.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, Eric.
And one last thing, although the hearing is closed, all the green cards had come in.
Oh, thank you, Daryl. I missed that. Yes, we have confirmation that we have all the green cards. I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't consult my checklist. Okay. Mark, do you want to?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know
continue with
if
your
everyone here.
people here.
Yeah,
I'm
I've been,
positive.
and you,
Before.
yeah, and you broke up a little bit. I didn't mean to be interjecting while you were trying to talk, Julie.
No, I
But
don't recognize all the names. That's all, to know who to take next.
I think one Noel Cress, I believe the owner's here.
Thanks for here.
Yes, hi, Kristen. I thought you one of the 2 owners. So That plan, I would ask that the both owners are here now. I just see Frank there.
Yes.
So with that said, I would ask that we review one Oakcrest Farm Lane.
Sounds good. Do you want to, actually, Steve, do you have the plan for One Knoll Crest? It's the revision to the previously approved, plan.
I do. I've got that called up. Do you want to share?
Why don't you go ahead and share, and then Mark, I'll have you,
Sure.
introduce, I see. When was this plan previously approved?
Oh, it's been around for a while. Let's see,
Okay.
revised. They did the revision for the ADU on June 10th, but last year on May 29th, they were reviewed as April 22nd and May 29th. It was reviewed, and then they decided on the ADU, and so they redesigned for the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit. And with that said, they have the soil testing was done a long time ago. It was done back in 2003. I was out there, so I do remember it. I was out there with Joe Nyhill from GLM. The plan's being designed and redesigned by GLM Engineering. Joe was the soil evaluator, but Rob Truax is the engineer who designed it. And we went over it already, and it is in compliance. The well has already been drilled because they had active septic and well permits in a prior year, back when it was originally approved. So, that obviously will need to be retested, but it's not a proposed, it's an existing well. So if you look at the plan, it says proposed well, but it's existing, hopefully in the right area. We have not yet gotten an as-built on that. But that's the only item on the property that I'm aware of. And I believe it's the last lot of maybe 4 or 5 lots for No Crest Farm Lane. With that said, it's been designed within the requirements of both state and local codes. The soil out there is very gravelly. It's a sand, which is like very fortunate that they have that. So it creates they can do a large system and not have that big of a larger house and not have that big of a system based on the percolation rate of the sand. I am ready to recommend approval of it, but I'm ready for any questions as well.
It looks reasonable to me. The only thing I just add to your note talking about the sandy soils, so they're good for keeping the size of the system down, but they also allow materials to pass through much more quickly into the groundwater. So
True, I
keep in
agree.
mind what goes out into the septic.
Well, the good part too on that, Daryl, is that they designed for a garbage grinder, but I would never recommend one to them. They can have one if they wish, but that will help prevent the load from being. I'm sorry, I'm on a cell phone, but the design load will be less if with this larger system because it has more area to dissipate.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make that out okay? Because I'm on a cell phone.
It was a little
Yes, I
blurry,
heard
but we got it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Just my computer will not work on this Wi-Fi where I'm at.
No problem, Mark. If we can't hear you, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't have any questions looking at this. It looks like, again, you have a very favorable site for building a 7-bedroom system. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the homeowners?
I just have one question. I know, is this the only approval we need from the Board of Health for the building permit? I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, I can help on that. What will happen is when you do decide to come in for a building permit, that building permit it's generated by the building is generated and provided to the building commissioner, and then he distributes it to conservation, Board of Health, and various other departments. Could be planning as well. At that point, we'll look at the floor plans to determine if indeed it fits for a 7-bedroom house with the ADU, you know, and all the room count. You can have up to 15 rooms on a 7-bedroom septic system, and that would include the ADU.
Oh, okay. I actually thought that's what we were doing tonight because it's the last piece of the building permit that we need. We already started the building permit with Chris, so that means we have to come back here again for the
Yeah,
room
you
count?
have to. Yeah, you have to get the plan approved, and then that has to be sent over to us for review. Chris is probably holding it up, knowing that the septic system has not been approved yet, but we have not yet seen it. It will be. I can make a note to
I
ask Chris
thought
the
the
status
septic
of it.
system was approved. It's just that we had the ADU added to the plan.
That's fine. So the AD, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. Next month to do, like, to do.
Kristen,
Oh,
you're,
that.
We could not make out your comment. Could you try that again? You were very choppy.
Sure, I'm sorry.
No.
still choppy.
Yeah.
Do you want to write it in the, can you type it in the chat and I'd be happy to read it?
And I'll also explain.
I don't know if you're on a
usually
phone.
what
that is
happens.
Yeah, let's see.
Usually what happens is.
We had submitted the
so if
plans
this plan is.
for the house. And I thought this was for the review of the plans, not
No.
the site, because we already had the site review and septic review. This was supposed to be for the plans review of the house.
That is not correct. This is the septic system redesign review that we're doing right now. Once that's complete, and as I noted, I'm going to recommend approval. Then I'll check in with Chris Canny to see what the status is of the building application.
So yes, Kristen, Kristen's question is, it sounds like we will need to come back for the room count. Yes, that's correct. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is a revision to a previously approved septic plan of which we are about to approve the revision tonight. And then once the floor plan comes to us, we will again review that.
Yeah.
And if you've
And
already submitted that, go ahead, Darren.
Mark, though, Mark, if you review it when it comes through from the building application, and it is clear that it meets the requirements, room count wise, will you go ahead and approve that without coming back to us?
I'm glad you brought that up, Carol. Yes, indeed, that happens not during a meeting unless building applications reviewed outside of a Board of Health meeting in most cases, to answer your question.
Yeah. So Frank and Kristen, when I say the Board of Health, that includes Mark. So Mark will look at your floor plan. If there is anything there that he is not sure about and feels that the board needs to look at it, then you would come back on our agenda. Otherwise, if everything looks fine, you would move forward without coming back on this agenda. Does that answer your question? Okay. Okay, sounds good. So let's see, let's review. We don't have, Mark, am I correct that we don't have a garbage grinder? Do we have any other conditions of approval?
They're using a conventional system. They're designing it for a garbage grinder as well. So there's no conditions for this. It's just for the Board of Health to review and approve the septic plan.
Well, guys, you won one of the easiest systems. Congratulations. That's a big win in Sherborn, let me tell you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the revision to the disposal works permit for the septic plan for 22 Purve Street? Or I'm sorry, 1 Knoll Crest, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I was looking at the last item, 1 Knoll Crest.
So moved.
Second.
That's it. I just got bit twice.
Any further discussion?
Twice. Just sit down.
There's someone who needs to mute themselves. I'm trying to find who that is.
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, okay,
I'm trying
sorry.
to do it. I'm trying to do it while I'm.
I thought it was somebody else who had accidentally unmuted. All right.
No.
Hearing no further discussion,
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
All right. Good luck, Frank and Kristen, with your bill.
Thank you.
Let's see. Mark, you are more familiar with names, and maybe Daryl, you're more familiar with the names of who
Yeah.
else?
40 Forest, perhaps?
Sounds good. Who wants to introduce that? Mark or Daryl? Mark, hang on, you've muted yourself, but I see you were talking. And you're still muted, Mark. Oh, just waiting a second. Steve, when it's time to pull up.
And I'm sorry, Julie, I am back.
Okay,
But
sounds good. Do you want to introduce this, or do you want Daryl to?
Well, and I was going to say, just so you know, Patrick Tahan is also waiting on the two Adams Lanes ones. So it's up to the board how you want to handle it. But he's here to represent Ted Moore when the board's ready to review.
I do not recall who was here first. We usually try to take people in that order.
I don't know.
Everyone seemed to kind of come in all at once. Okay, why don't we take 40 Forest, and then Mr. Tahan, we will be with you very shortly. And where should we start in terms of pulling up?
All right, well, I could help with that, I suppose.
We have in our folder, we have 3 different things to look at. I'm not sure which would be the most helpful to start.
Here, I'll do. All right. We'll start with all right. Let's start with the basement, work our way up. So this is the basement area. And there's a storage room. This is labeled as storage, but it might have some finished surfaces. There are finished surfaces in the media room, apparently, and the mechanical is mechanical. All right, this is going to get a little trickier to see all at once.
So Daryl, the media room is finished and has HVAC. Is that what you
but
said?
no, nothing other than tiny windows. So Barton, can you remind me for over here?
Yeah, the windows, I'm Barton Kunstler. The windows, I mean, it's a complete basement. There's no above ground window or except for the tiny little basement windows at the very top. And it's got no egress into, they wouldn't be able to have any egress into the yard because it's completely underground except for the height of those windows. And that's the entire basement.
Okay.
Okay. And so the media room has finished walls and ceiling and something on the floor other than concrete? Is
Yeah,
that, okay. And for the storage area, does that have flooring
it
of
has
any sort?
linoleum and it's, yeah, it's fundamentally a finished basement space. But again, no egress and so forth.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
don't
so
think
there
that
might be
has
two.
a window at all.
Okay. So there might be two finished rooms in the basement, but no egress to the outside and no large windows. Okay,
So
and
that's-
so then the rest of this, I'm chopping off some of the garage, is garage, office, mudroom, entryway, eat-in kitchen, dining room, living room, and office. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms here. We're up to 7. Then, second floor, there is, over the garage, there's a guest room with a full bath. Is that correct? It's a full bath?
Yeah, that's a full
Okay.
scale room.
Okay. So that's a bedroom there and a bedroom here. That's 2, 3, and a bedroom over here. What is being proposed is that above this area here is a peaked roof, and there were some photos. I could show that if you want to see that. That you're considering connecting to this bedroom, right, and creating a suite?
Right. The stairway will turn right into the bedroom. The
Okay,
stairway
so
from
you'd go
that
up here.
attic area. It'll be basically part of the bedroom.
Okay. And is this a stairway also here?
No, I think they're just trying to communicate the notion that right now the stairway goes down and out a door, but that it's actually the stairway down is actually going to turn into that middle stairway. That I don't know why that's. Oh, that's the downstairs stairway to the first floor, or at least that's how it's
Okay.
being indicated, just like that over there.
Oh, there are 2. Oh, okay. So there's 2 staircases or more.
Yeah, and then
And
there's
then
this one, the third
one
one.
over here too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's that part. Then there was another one that I was confused by.
The open area, that's the walkthrough.
Yeah. Okay, so let's skip that for just a moment now. Then this was the upstairs with a picture depiction of what it would be like.
Where'd that come from? That's nice.
And then more plan here.
Oh, that's.
I'm not sure where this bathroom was.
That is that the second? Which floor is that? Let's start with that.
I don't know. I
Oh, let
couldn't
me
tell.
look.
Is it up on this 3rd floor area? Or?
No, there's no plumbing, and there won't be any plumbing on the 3rd floor. There's a bathroom right next to that bedroom. That.
On the 2nd floor.
Yeah, on the 2nd floor.
Okay, so maybe that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah.
Could be here. Okay.
Right. That is that bath.
All right. And then I couldn't figure out where this was.
No.
This almost looks like the
exercise room.
basement to me, but
No,
I don't know where that
yeah,
is.
that's the basement. I don't know who put exercise room in there, but I don't exercise in that room. But
And
that's
this
the
was the
basement.
mechanical room?
Well, storage, yeah, wait, that says master
Okay.
bedroom.
Yeah, it does, sorry. Could make it bigger.
And then above it, it says the connected ensuite. And then that's not a room, as I understand it. I don't know what storage means. It looks like they somehow combined the basement with the first floor. Oh, wait,
Okay,
no,
so
I
this,
see.
oh,
I don't know why they call that an exercise room. Okay, it looks like this is where the stairway goes up, then it's a walk-through area. And when was this thing done?
so if this is truly the basement, you're not planning on putting a master bedroom where the mechanics
No,
were,
God,
are you?
there's no mess.
Okay,
No,
so
and
there's
there's no
something,
connected ensuite. Uh, I don't, this, I think this was done before. I don't know whose conception this is.
Well, they do say
Oh.
it's a second floor if you look over to the wording above storage.
Okay,
right, but it doesn't match anything about the second floor that I
right.
looked
It
at
just
for a long
doesn't.
time trying to figure out.
Oh,
Looks like the
okay.
basement
Was this the
layout.
2005 plan that was floating around?
It's
Oh, I don't
Just
know.
February.
it's dated 2025.
2025.
If you see, Daryl, if you were to move your cursor to the right-hand side,
Oh,
it
I
should.
see it, yeah. Well,
It says attic loft amendment to original plan.
if that's the second
Oh,
floor,
yeah.
that's news to me. I mean, I don't know what else
I
to say,
think,
except this is where they say storage is where that bedroom is. There's no exercise room there. There's one on the, what we might call that, is one of the first floor bedrooms. It looks like what he's calling the exercise room is the bedroom, but the storage would be the side yard. That's all I can say, unless they're calling the little attic room storage, I guess, with the stairway. I'm not sure. There's no way to really make sense of this.
all right, so if we look at this here,
The other,
see the
yes,
general shape of it all, and then go back to the first floor, I just think it looks just like this space,
yeah,
shape-wise, but not labeling.
I
All
think
right, so
somehow.
maybe resolving whether
Oh,
that diagram has some typos, and it was meant to be this, would be helpful, because this even has the shape of what they were calling a master bedroom, which I can't imagine you'd choose that over the second
This
floor.
has got a furnace in
Or
it.
third floor, so, okay.
So, and this storage is just completely unfinished and underground as well, so.
All right. Okay, so back to, all right. People have a feel for the layout. We got to
Yeah, these two
5
sketches
rooms
are
on
the
the first
accurate ones.
floor, 2 in the basement, and 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, and the proposal is to connect to the 3rd floor through this bedroom and finish this space up here in the attic, peaked attic.
It's a smallish space. It's not an attic that goes beyond the, whatever the 170 square feet of that particular space. So it's not like it opens into the rest of an attic.
So, and it's a 4-bedroom septic. Is that correct, Mark?
It looks like we may have lost Mark. Okay, so that would be
Okay.
relevant
Yeah,
if
it's a 4-bedroom, which is kind of what
Yeah,
prompted some of the questions.
I'm
But
back,
again,
guys. Sorry about this.
oh, okay.
It's a 4-bedroom septic. It can have up to 9 rooms for the 4-bedroom septic system that's there.
Okay. And so we're at 11 with 4 bedrooms.
Well, is the basement 2 rooms? I was under the impression they don't count as rooms. If it's a real
well,
basement.
Are they currently,
do.
are they currently deed restricted? Is there a deed restriction?
I don't think so.
All right.
So the deed restriction is an option, but the board needs to discuss it.
Yeah, we certainly would be fine with that.
Okay, that's good clarification. And so for the, can we go to the room where the construction is being proposed? The bedroom.
The floor diagram or the photo?
Right where you are. No, right where you are is okay. I just want to see if I can understand the drawing here. So is the bathroom here accessible through a hallway or only through this bedroom?
Hallway.
It's through a hallway. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the stairwell that will lead to this lofted attic space is accessible from where?
No, that would be, I mean, schematically, the center stairway. What it would be is the stairway would go down from the attic space, and then we'd put an entryway through the wall, which is not a load-bearing wall, that goes right into the bedroom. So it could all be one unit.
How would this attic space be accessed? Through a hall?
Through the bedroom.
Only through the bedroom?
Only through the bedroom.
Only
There is an existing doorway down there now that will close off as a wall.
Okay. Will there be a door at the bottom or top of the stairs to this attic space?
No.
No. Okay. And the roughly the square footage of the attic space is?
I would say about 170. I think, not all of it walkable. And there's the stairway is like a big hole in the middle, so.
You can see that from the picture.
Yeah, exactly where it is.
And so you can't actually, it's not head height. It's not.
Oh, no, it's head height. Most of the room is head height. It's just
Okay.
the whole 170 or 80 feet isn't head height.
Okay. Okay.
If I'm correct on that number, I'm just estimating.
That's okay. The magic number is 70. So you're over that.
Oh, yeah, we're over
that. Okay, so this is proposed as a loft within a bedroom. It is only accessible from the bedroom. It does not have any way of becoming a private room because there is no doorway. The stair area that enters into the attic space is going to be kind of an open balusters.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm also looking at the rendering on my other
I
screen.
mean, we need actually the railing right now would be like very dangerous for little kids. So, the entrance would come up, there'd be a railing there or whatever, balusters. And that's where the stairway would be.
I guess this is the current condition.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah. Okay, Rebecca or Steve, do you have, I just needed that, those are my questions to make sense of what was being proposed. Um, but Rebecca or Steve, do you guys have questions?
No, I don't really know if it changes the bedroom count. I can see where you're headed, though. But
Getting some feedback. So I think what's being proposed is to finish this loft space within a bedroom.
mhm.
And it also sounds like we are discussing deed restricting the 2 basement rooms. Am I on track with that, Daryl?
Yes, I
Barbara,
think that's
we're on
the
track with-
only way that it would not need a septic upgrade.
Right.
Which, like I said, is fine with us.
Okay, given the lack of egress in those basement spaces, that makes sense to me, to deed restrict those as consistent. And so it looks like the storage area that it's off of there, where, I'm sorry, on the lower level, there's the
Right. Okay.
there's a storage room that has finished surfaces, and then
Right.
to the left of that, there is a longer rectangular area labeled storage that is unfinished space.
Yeah, completely raw.
And is that through a doorway or through another stairwell?
No, that's through a doorway, and then there's like 3 or 4 wooden steps to get up to it. But it's where a lot of the utilities are and the oil tank, and it's completely unfinished.
Okay. Okay. We're just trying to make sense of the floor plan, Bart, and that's
Oh, believe
that's why
me,
we're asking all these questions. It's and it's clearly it's not just a box house, so that's why it's a little harder.
I get it. Believe me.
That's why I still advocate for building these out of Lego so we can go see them at town hall. It would be probably easier. Okay, I think so for me, I would be comfortable deed restricting these 2 basement rooms. And in terms of finishing the loft within the bedroom as proposed, given that there's no privacy, and it's only accessible through the bedroom space, that would be consistent with how the board has treated loft spaces within bedrooms in the past. I would be comfortable with that.
I agree with what you said.
Rebecca and Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's consistent with what's been done in the past.
Rebecca?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the one with the interference. Sorry. I don't know how to fix this.
That's okay. All right, so Barton, you would like us to, for us to move forward with approving the building permit for the loft space. You can't, as Mark noted, you have a room count issue. And so we would need to deed restrict your 2 basement rooms. To be able
Which
to.
is fine. Yeah.
Daryl, do you want to? I heard a voice. Is that you, Daryl?
Oh, that was me. So yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
I was going to ask, would you like to make the motion or do you have a further comment?
Let's see, I would make a motion to authorize Mark to approve the building plans when they come in. Conditional 2, the design changes reflected on those plans correlate with what we've just reviewed here this evening about the suite on the second floor from the bedroom up to the loft, and conditional to receipt of a deed restriction for the 2 basement rooms, 2 finished basement rooms.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any other discussion? Hearing none.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
And
Okay.
Daryl Beardsley, aye. And so Barton, we will send you a form that has the language for the deed restriction.
Right, and I'll just go to, do I go to town hall or county to do the deed restriction?
It has to be done at Middlesex.
Okay, I'll find it, yeah.
In Dedham, I believe.
Right, okey doke. Okay, thank you, everybody.
And we could provide you more information about that if you need.
Okay. Great,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night, Barton.
You too.
Good night.
All right. Mark, should we take the 2 Adams Lane?
You're muted, Mark. Still muted.
We still have Mr. Tahan on. Okay, good. Thank you for sticking with us, Mr. Tahan.
Okay, here we go. It has different menus. I don't remember Zoom having all these menus, but on a phone. But yes, we can go now to 7 Adams as well as 8 Adams. They're both different. One's easy. One's the approval of the well plan for 8 Adams. If you want to do 8 Adams first, and Patrick
Okay.
Tahan is here. He's
Yes.
the owners, and that's Patrick right there. So on 8 Adams Lane, that's a request for a new well. And I would recommend approval of it as proposed. It does meet the judicial order that was issued on this property in respect to the distances and so forth. They only have to be 60 feet well to well per the judicial order.
Any
So
questions?
this is 74.3,
Yeah.
and this is
100.
100.2. I don't have any questions.
No, I would recommend approval is
Okay.
what I was going to recommend. I'm sorry for the background noise and all that, and a loud area.
I don't have any questions either. Anyone else from the board?
We're approving not
8
putting them together, we're doing them individually, correct?
Correct. Yes, you want to do 8 Adams. That's the one that's in for a new well location approval.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve the new well application for 8 Adams Lane?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Mark, do you want to go through 7 Adams's? Not quite as straightforward. Do you want to?
Yes. Please go to 7 Adams. I apologize. With this phone system, it's just different. Yes, on 7 Adams, we received a lab report which had additional information which wasn't required to test for. That's radon. But with the radon being submitted now and with it showing twice as much radon as allowed, I would suggest that the board review it as allowed in the Board of Health regulations. According to Cliff from Northeast Water Wells, he's the well driller. He said this will probably dissipate, but now the board has to make a decision because now we have a public record on file. And what my recommendation would be is the same way we handle the volatiles, is that if a volatile shows up, they have to prove it's erroneous or introduced by producing 2 consecutive tests that are below the required level. And the required level is 10,000 picocuries. And the test came out at 20,000, give or take, plus or minus. And that would be something that hopefully if they wish to submit, we'd follow the same format for anything else. But I think, they usually handle this on their own. We do not have a radon requirement, but if we get that requirement, we have to look at the parameters as noted in our regulations.
Yeah, I'd also note, I read through guidance from Mass DEP on this, and 2 things. They said that the radon you inhale is much more dangerous than the radon that you drink. So they highly recommend doing testing within the house when it's built. I don't know if it's built yet.
That's
But
a good point.
this is sort of a signal that you might want to check that. The other thing they said is that they recommended 2 tests, that you do 2 tests spaced apart in time, maybe a month. And you can average the results to see where you are. I think for sticking with our regulations in doing 2 more tests, I would say that there might be something about still being able to average, because they said radon fluctuates a lot, or doesn't always, but can fluctuate a lot in groundwater. And therefore, the averaging seems to be reasonable. Like if you get one at 3,000 and one at 11,000, then maybe the averaging gives you a better idea of some dynamics going on.
Mark, I've got a question. The expectation that this will dissipate over time, is that based on data that's been collected from other wells in the area, given that
I'm not for sure if Cliff from Northeast Water Wells has collected information, but it's from his general knowledge, he said.
Okay.
So, Mark, if I'll add,
Yeah, go ahead. If
the,
you
the,
can.
the drilling of the well introduces the radon gases naturally. So there is one unit on site that has a radon mitigation system for water, just one. Several for gases, like she had explained. The radon gases are a lot more dangerous, a lot more common to be mitigated and tested and regulated and all that. But the water is kind of a new one. I mean, like Mark said, we're not even required to test for radon in the water because it's known that new construction wells, new wells, that the radon is introduced in the drilling process. So the
When
funny
was the
thing
well
here is if he
drilled?
didn't even put the radon in the panel test, we wouldn't even be here. So obviously,
Well, when was the well drilled?
the well, I'd have to go to my records, but I know that testing on the well was done like within the matter of a couple weeks after it was drilled.
Yeah, so why don't you just repeat the testing now?
So my thing is this is for a foundation only permit. So there's several,
Right, but
as
we're
everyone
talking about
knows.
water quality and safety, and if radon didn't matter, it wouldn't be tested, but it does matter. And if it were actually caused by the drilling, there's been time since the wells were drilled, so why don't you just repeat the test?
We can do that, but my question is, why should that hold up a foundation only permit?
Our interest is public health, and so this has to do with public health, and this is part of the requirements of the state. The state uses building permits as an opportunity to enforce certain regulations that benefit the public health of the community. And so we're just following state and local regulations, and we didn't make it up. But it would simplify a lot if you could just show that it's not relevant anymore.
Sure. Could I just, all I would add there is it takes 10 to 14 business days for a test to come back. We need to show 2 concurrent tests to prove it erroneous. We have to take several more tests from now until, a finished tap test, yada, yada, yada. And we'll agree to put in a mitigation system if there's any radon levels that exceed the town state limits. Our standing is we need to perform these tests regardless. How is it for a foundation only permit, no water in this well can be utilized until the house is built. So the well, like to hold up the foundation of the construction, the domestic water going into the unit from that well doesn't occur until the end of the construction of the
Yeah, no, we
dwelling.
totally understand that. It just happens that the way it's written is the building permit is attached to showing that the water is potable. And so we didn't make it up. But because I'm confident that there's been some time since those wells were drilled, if you just repeat the test, you might actually be able to just move forward. If the numbers are dramatically different already, that's a great. It just be so much easier.
Well, you said 2 tests to average it out. It looks like 10,000 is the allowed limit. It's 21.7 currently. So, yeah, so I guess, yeah, I mean, I respect, obviously the health concern and all that. My whole thing was we just, we'll do whatever we have to do. We'll put in a mitigation system. We'll take whatever tests we have to take. We were just hoping we could start the construction of the building as we're, testing the water.
I don't know how quick those tests turn around, but it's probably not that long. And if you did a repeat test now, because I don't think the well was dug last week, so probably you could have a value immediately. If it's a dramatic difference, then that would move things along really quickly. It'd be a lot less expensive than putting in a mitigation system.
Sure. So the board wants to see 2 concurrent tests at less than 10,000. Correct?
Well, we haven't discussed yet whether we would accept the guidance of the state about doing multiple tests and averaging them, or whether both would have to be 10,000. So we haven't touched upon that because we haven't had to deal with this particular issue. And Mark, I just wanted to check with you. Oh, and the other thing, Patrick, you mentioned that another house had to put in a radon mitigation system. Was that for water or for the air in the house?
For water.
Okay, so you have experience with, getting a system and something that's effective and had I assume, a good result.
So yes and no. Yes and no. The confusion from my part is we're not required to test for it. So never did radon, in the water come up in the construction of that unit. Those homeowners, those buyers, after they closed on that property, decided to do further independent testing on their well. And they obviously, sourced radon in their domestic water and decided to put the system in, so I have, obviously I'm an expert when it comes to the gases and the mitigation systems. It's practically in every house, even as a precaution, but you just put a radon fan in a vent. But the water is kind of a new, it's new to me. That's all.
Okay. And Mark, in the past, have we ever had water issues be resolved later? If it was something known to be treatable?
Yes, I mean, volatiles are a good reasoning, a good comparison, where we have had volatiles show up. They most likely were introduced are erroneous at the beginning test, which is usually at the wellhead. And we have the owners sign an agreement letter that they recognize volatiles did show, and that if they are still there, they'll have to put in filtering as well as complete a deed recording. But if they can prove they're erroneous or introduced by doing 2 consecutives by the time they're getting to the tap test. But I always recommend, and I think as noted tonight, that they at least take one more test at the well to see, if it is indeed maybe erroneous or introduced. So, and so that would be the same type of format I would suggest to the board. We treat it like we treat volatile organic chemicals. And that way, if they sign that agreement letter, they can get their foundation permit.
Yeah. And I don't think radon doesn't really get introduced by the drilling in the same way volatiles do.
True.
But again, what I read is that
yeah.
it's quite variable over.
Yeah.
And
not a good comparison.
Yeah. No, but I agree with your philosophy about treating it like that, because it is one of those things that might be a little more ephemeral than some other things. So
yeah.
So I would be for permitting some additional work to go on concurrently, and I agree with you that another test now, because it's been since November from the last test, so it would be interesting to see what it comes up with now and proceed for some amount of time and then do another test is what I'm inclined to right now.
I agree, Daryl. That's my inclination as well.
So does the board want to vote on it? And since it's all new and it's really the Board of Health decision.
Do you know
I would also
what the turnaround time is for those tests?
Patrick indicated 10 days. I believe you indicated that, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, I know a VOC test is 10 to 14 business days. And
14 days is very standard from labs. It's a standard turnaround. Very standard.
And we're open to signing any agreement letter like we do with the VOCs, and during the course of construction we flush the well, prove they were erroneous, and 90% of the time we're successful in doing that. My hope is we can do the same with the radon. We were hoping, like we treat the VOCs, that we could start the foundation, and obviously I'll schedule a test as soon as possible, but if there's an agreement letter that we could sign just to get the foundation permit through, that would at least allow for the lead time to take these tests, get the results, and then figure out the next step, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that seems practical to me, because unless someone would walk away from developing this parcel because they didn't want to do the treatment, they're going to find a way, if it's still present, to treat it.
Absolutely.
I also think we could. Sorry about the. If you just did an order test like tomorrow, we could have all this information, and it might be really simple.
Well, what I'm saying is that in the end, if it all passes, then they're great. If the tests don't pass, then they're installing a system. So I'm not sure what delaying.
Correct.
I just don't know how to enforce that, Daryl, and that's the problem with this policy that we always do. And it would be so simple if we'll have the information in 10 days. Why are we waiting? Just do it.
And to be fair, you need to have a licensed, well contractor come out and perform the wellhead testing. Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're there to witness a lot of them. I don't know if you would have to be there for that. So this is a matter of, we have to schedule the contractor, the necessary people to do it. They have to submit the test. We have to wait the 10 to 14 business days. We have to submit the results back to the Board of Health. It's not, it's going to take
And-
weeks, and we'll sign any letter. We will continue to flush this well, prove it erroneous, and if we can't, in the letter that we sign, we will mitigate the radon in the water. I mean, just like we sign.
There's another gate for us also, Rebecca, and that is a certificate of occupancy for the house. If it doesn't have a system providing the quality of water that meets the standards that we have, then that won't be given. So again,
That's a good idea. If we make it a requirement for a certificate of occupancy, then I feel better because I don't have time to follow up and blah, blah, blah. Every day, including this meeting earlier, we find out about things that we request and people say, yes, no problem. And then it doesn't happen. And it's really tiring.
It'll have to happen because there's also, this is a wellhead test. There's also a tap test to be done.
Right.
No, I'm just saying that it'd be great if it's just incorporated in the process. We don't have to be chasing and difficult because all we're doing is trying to comply with the goal of the Board of Health, which is to sort of enforce those state and local regs and make sure things are safe. That's all. I also agree that it's a pain.
Okay, so I think our standard procedure, there are, the follow-up test, the tap test, the issuance of approving for the certificate of occupancy is all part of our normal process, and we'll catch this if it's an enduring problem.
Yes, we will.
Exactly.
And they've been working with us through the years. They follow through appropriately on everything they do.
Okay. So, Mark, what do you need for moving
just the
ahead?
board to vote to, I think what you just said was appropriate. The agreement letter, it's already been drafted because there were volatiles. There was one volatile, toluene, as well as manganese, iron, and color. But I already drafted that agreement letter. I would left the radon section open for the board's vote. But from what the board has indicated, I could add that the agreement on that section for radon would be to do a follow-up test and then the final tap test. And hopefully it will be mitigated. But if not, as Patrick said, there are systems that they can utilize to mitigate the issue of the radon within the water. We're talking about the radon in the water.
Right. Exactly. And we will, if we can't prove it erroneous, and when the final tap testing comes along and there's radon in that water, then we will install the necessary system. And then, like we always do, Mark, with any filter, provide 2 concurrent tests after that filtration's installed and prove, so.
No, that's fine. You know the routine. But
Yeah.
I would recommend that being the vote of the board, but it's up to the board.
Okay, and one last thing, do we want to be more precautionary and require that both tests, the 2 subsequent tests, are below 10,000, or that
Yes.
the average is below 10,000?
Oh, I see what you're saying, Daryl. I don't know that's if that's the scientific way they're doing it, then I don't see an issue with that. I'd have to follow through with the way the state handles it, as this is our first that we ever dealt with on radon.
And honestly, I don't know if they were recommending the 2 tests because they were thinking, what if it goes higher? Once
I
it's
see.
detected,
Yeah.
it goes higher. I don't know what their
Yeah.
intent was, but it seemed to imply that they just acknowledged the variability. But I could see if we just want to take a purely precautionary approach, we would say both
Yeah.
below 10.
I think when the
But
tests come
I don't
back,
know.
the board can come back to those decisions if need be. But if they're both under 10,000, then it would be resolved.
Yeah, it would be easy.
Yeah. So,
And we could maybe have a chance to talk to Mass DEP about
yes.
how they feel that guidance should be used.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
We're not done yet, Patrick. The board has
Oh,
to
Yeah,
make
man.
it.
we haven't voted, but we're headed to
You can go.
something.
You can go if you want. But Patrick, just so you know, if you are going to go Monday, I'd finalize the letter per the board's vote.
Okay, I appreciate it, Mark.
Okay, but I'm waiting on the board at this point.
All right.
Craft the
Does
motion.
anyone have an eloquent motion to make?
And nothing's going to be eloquent at this point in the evening for me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, I think
All right.
the board wants within the agreement letter that we send out for the well, and you can write this down if you want, or just ad lib, or just say so moved, that within that agreement letter, there's also a section about mitigating the radon, and they are required to provide a follow-up test and then a tap test to indicate it's below the state limits for radon in the water. That's what I would recommend to the board.
All right.
So moved.
Okay.
Hi, Chief.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Darrell Beardsley, aye.
Thank you. We're all set, Patrick. I'll talk to you Monday.
Mark, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night, everybody.
Aye.
Right.
I don't think I have any other business, do I? No, we did 40 Forest, 7, 8. Yeah, we're on 132 Nason Hill was taken off the agenda. That's been resolved. So I guess it's chair's business and other business. Thank you.
Okay. Oof, I'm fading fast. So why don't we go ahead and do our discussion on the ADUs, and then we can just follow up with the last couple of other business items. So last meeting we started talking about ADUs, and we were specifically talking about our semi-public well regulations. And so these discussions kind of have two purposes. One is to solicit input, questions, feedback from residents and the public, since we're all kind of making sense of the new ADU legislation. And then two, this is an opportunity for the board to just have a discussion, since we can't have discussions about these topics outside of a public meeting. And so we're kind of working away at this piecemeal. What I wanted to do was start the discussion around
Julie, you're on mute.
I couldn't hear you, Julie.
All right, I'm sorry. Apparently today
Okay.
was I muted for the whole thing.
I didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was me.
Oh, you guys got to tell me earlier. Okay. Nope. It was apparently me.
I thought it was my phone.
Nope. I must have clicked it. Sorry. Last meeting, we started discussing ADUs. This is a large subject of which we are going to be discussing in piecemeal. The objective of our discussions are twofold. One is to solicit questions, concerns, comments from the public so that we can incorporate that. I will not promise any quick and easy answers because it's unlikely that we will have them, but we can follow up. And then two, this is the opportunity for us as a board to have a discussion on these topics since we cannot do so outside of a public meeting. And so continuing on, we started to talk about semi-public wells. Eventually, we will have a comprehensive understanding of the application of our local regulations to the new ADU legislation, and we will possibly have some regulatory updates that have to be made as a result. So in terms of new construction, I thought we would just start with a couple of definitions to help set the stage. And then I think it might be most effective because I see there are some people hanging on. And so I suspect they might want to ask a question or have a comment about ADUs. Sorry, I had to silence the dog. Why don't we take those? And then as a board, we can just kind of bounce around our ideas to see where we're going with this. So I will read this for, I've been told it is more user accessible as long as to read everything that is on the screen that is readable. So in terms of, and this is coming from Title 5, 310 CMR 15.002, which is the definition section. So for new construction, and this is consistent with, and I realize we don't have this on the website, and we should probably actually post it on our website. DEP has provided local boards of health with kind of two guidance documents. Both were posted in April. One was a frequently asked questions, of which they promised to continue to update that. And then the other is a compliance document, just to kind of give us some background information. And that's where I'm drawing this from. So for new construction, and I broke down this definition because I think it is helpful to recognize this as, if you check any of the following, it is new construction. So the construction of a new building for which an occupancy permit is required, that would be new construction, or an increase in the actual flow or the design flow to any system, or an increase in the actual or design flow to any non-conforming system. And we'll go over what non-conforming is. Or an increase in the design flow to any system above the existing approved capacity. So if we are increasing actual or design flow, in all likelihood, that is new construction. To review non-conforming, I think I think it shows that you're seeing this whole screen. You're seeing three definitions here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. I wanted to make sure I had the green box right. So in a nutshell, a system is non-conforming if it is not in full compliance with the 1995 Title V regulations. This would mean cesspools, privies, failed systems, or any system with a design flow of greater than 10,000 GPD would be considered a non-conforming system. And in terms of kind of how does DEP look at, an ADU and a principal dwelling, and recognizing that here in town we have both by right ADUs and we have special permit ADUs, and so there's the potential of having two ADUs on a property. DEP constitutes that as a facility, and I think that's a helpful way to look at it. And so I will read that definition. Any real property, which includes abutting property, real property, and any building thereon which is served or is proposed to serve or could in the future be served by a system or systems. And so an ADU is part of the facility currently served by a septic system. So that would mean an ADU can be tying into an existing septic system, or an ADU could have a new separate septic built exclusively for that ADU in combination with the principal dwelling that is all considered a facility. And that is where we apply the new construction standard to. So where I will get to where I'm going with this, but I think it might be helpful to see if there are, want to stop and look for anyone who is attending, if they have specific questions or concerns relative to these definitions. And if you can't find your virtual hand, or actually I should ask the board members first. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve. Steve, go ahead.
Julie, so and again, I know it's getting late and I don't want to go off on something. But I did have a conversation with someone then, and it was related to this. And here's what they asked. They asked if they built a structure as an ADU, all right? And then instead of tying into a septic, if they installed one of those toilets that incinerates waste and also had a gray water tank, would that be some way they could circumvent the Title V rules around ADUs?
I can help on that if the board so wishes. If allowed by Title V and our local regulations, that's a possibility. We have seen that before with a system that just uses the foam flush, goes into not an incinerator, but like a compost bin, and then they have an official gray water system that has to be approved by the Board of Health, and they have to do the soil testing for that part. But that's a possibility. It has been allowed for repair of a house. And as long as it meets the new Title V and our local regulations, it would be allowed. And there are approvals for these foam type toilets that are out there. I don't want to say a specific name, but they are out there. But be honest, Steve, we had one and they did away with it and put a conventional system, and they weren't too crazy about it. So
Okay.
it's unfortunate because it's not a bad way to treat sewage, but we have not seen many requests for them since.
All right. Yeah, it was just like I said, it was a conversation I had, and it was kind of a hypothetical on their part, and I didn't know. I didn't know whether something like that was allowable or how it would actually work. But okay. All right. Thanks, Mark.
That's a good question. Those are the kind of questions that we want to just to help understand what people are thinking or what they're coming up against if they're considering adding an ADU to their property.
Yeah, people need to get creative.
It's usually necessary. Anyone else with a question or a comment? I'm not seeing hands. Okay. So the I'm gonna get I want to make sure I get this right. So the EOHLC, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, within the Affordable Homes Act, has made clear that all regulations must, to be reasonable, need to be consistent with what is applied to a single family dwelling. So if it is more restrictive than what we apply to a single family dwelling, that would be considered unreasonable. And that makes sense. That makes sense to me. What did I hear a comment? Did I hear, was that from somebody from the board? No. A question that I've heard in a couple of different formats, and this is what I was hoping to discuss as a board, and I don't think we're going to get to necessarily an answer, or I think we might get to a next step action, is if you have installed an upgraded system, a remedial system, and you have done a +1, and your current system did not have any Title V variances, so therefore it is a conforming system. Can that be used, that additional flow, assuming that the number of bedrooms you have flow for is not met or exceeded within the principal dwelling? Can you use that excess capacity for an ADU? The answer would be yes. In the case of Sherborn, this is something that has been a long-standing precedent from what I can tell, is that when folks come before us for a replacement system, and if they have no Title V variances, they are given the opportunity to do what we call a +1, or to increase their design flow by 1 bedroom. I don't know when that started. That is a local variance. If Mark, if you know, you would, I would welcome it. My best guess as to the why would be, it was an opportunity as, properties came before this board to meet the maximum feasible compliance. Maybe it was an intent to help, homeowners who might have been out of compliance have the opportunity to get into compliance in terms of their room count, but that's just my speculation. I don't actually know.
Yeah, and it also was a way for the board to have people update their septic systems if they knew they could get an additional bedroom, as long as they met all state code and didn't need any waivers that would affect an abutter. Typically, you would see the board granting that additional bedroom.
Right. But to my knowledge, and this is certainly, Mark, I would welcome your many years of experience here. To my knowledge, the board has only granted +1. We have never allowed someone to have an increased design flow with local variances beyond 1.
That is correct. And over the years, the board has indicated that people will come in for just a 2-bedroom house. We saw one on Maple Street at the corner of Green. And the board felt if you start allowing 2 bedrooms over the present bedroom count, it would be no different from allowing new construction. So that was one of the reasons the board said, 1 bedroom would be the max allowed above and beyond the existing bedroom count for a repair of a system.
Yeah.
And I'll say what Mark has just explained on both of those questions is what I heard from long-term Board of Health members in the past when I was getting involved.
Okay. Okay. And so looking at the DEP definition for new construction and looking at our standard practice, I would say that anytime you're increasing the design flow, again, if it's the +1 for remedial system, but beyond that, that would constitute new construction. And the question that's been posed to us is whether or not our local regulations would apply to those new construction standards. My personal, and this is where I want to hear feedback from the board, my personal inclination is that is the standard we apply to the single family dwellings or the principal dwelling, and it seems consistent, therefore, to apply it to the ADU as well.
I
So
completely feel that's the way to go.
So if we have regulations for new construction and then something fails, we're trying to give an incentive for people to upgrade their system, and we allow to increase, then why bother having the original standard? Either have new construction regs or failure, exceptions to the rules that create a beneficial incentive. But an ADU is essentially a new construction.
Yeah.
So I would say we stick to the new construction just because we're never going to ever have the ability to keep track of the cumulative effect on the environment and the water supply and the neighbors and the blah, blah, blah. So just thinking about the ultimate goal, I think it's safer to have a new construction standard and have it apply to ADUs.
It would be a consistent application of the regulation throughout the entire facility. And for me, if we say that for the principal dwelling to increase the design flow, with this new construction, you apply local regulations. However, for an ADU, which constitute new construction because of increased design flow, local regs are not applied. That is not consistent application.
Oh, I see. Because if you're increasing the design flow, it's not, that would be the situation where you might have to increase the septic system. Yeah.
Well, or so there are options, right? Like, you know, you could in fact meet local regulations and add on to the existing system. You could build a standalone septic system for the ADU, or you can make modifications within the principal dwelling to then, if it's currently a 4-bedroom house, you could rearrange so you have a 3-bedroom, and then you still had, assuming you had a 4-bedroom system, you would then have a 1-bedroom capacity for an ADU. But I think, so I guess I'd like to hear from the rest of the board. I see your hand, Bob, but I'd like to hear from the rest of the board, your inclination. And then I think they would have, if we have a question as a board that we would like to bring back to town council for clarification, or if we want to bring back to DEP for clarification, I think that that would be helpful, but I would like us to formulate that as a board.
It may be worth getting input from both of those sources, because one, DEP presumably would be much more focused on, at least the drinking water program would be focused on the quality of the drinking water, and the town council might not be thinking in the same way as the DEP. Be interesting to hear both perspectives. I don't know whether that would complicate things, but it would certainly help me.
I suppose it would be complicated if they said different things.
But there's definitely different perspectives.
Yeah. Other members of the board, any thoughts? I know it's hard to have a brainstorming session in a public meeting, but this is our only time to do it. No one else? All right, Bob, I will be happy to take your comment, but given the hour, I just wanted to warn you that we are not necessarily going to have a back and forth discussion, but we will certainly note your comment or your question that you want us to take. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I'd say two things. The first is I don't think it's going to do much good to ask DEP for an interpretation. And the reason for that is that the legal framework for what's in question is a state law, and it has nothing to do with DEP regulations. In other words, DEP has no purview to interpret state law that's not their own regulations. And what's in question is not DEP regulations. What's in question here is the state law that was passed last August about ADUs. So, I mean, obviously, you can ask DEP, but DEP has already come out with guidance, and their guidance, and this didn't surprise me at all, I expected it. DEP came out and they explained how, in their guidance, to the extent they could, they explained how ADUs would fit into DEP regulations, right? And that makes sense because DEP is in the business. They have a set of Title V regulations. And so that's what they did. They were silent on the real issue at hand here. The real issue at hand here is, can towns have local regulations which are more strict than Title V and deny the ability of the applicant to build an ADU to build a septic system under Title V? That's the real question. That's kind of the crux of the whole matter. Now, Daryl, I sent you a frequently asked, a link to the frequently asked questions from Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And very specifically, one paragraph I sent you. Did you share that with the board as part of the prep for this conversation? Because there's a critical paragraph that came out from Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And I'm just wanting to make sure
I didn't realize that you had only sent that to me. I assumed you had sent it to everybody.
Well, the email
I did
was...
not appreciate that you would only be sending something to me.
So the board hasn't seen this then?
Can you, is it like a paragraph? Is it a sentence?
Yeah, I can read it to you if you like, sure.
Can you please just read it?
Yeah, sure. So it says, the question is, can a city/town require additional septic capacity or new septic systems to build a protected use ADU? And the answer that EOHLC gives is only if required by state law. And this is the really important sentence. The ADU regulations prohibit local rules to be established that are more restrictive than state laws and rules. And I'll read that.
Except the DEP will tell you that in the exception to that is in the case of private water supply. And so you're actually incorrect because it is law that Board of Health has the authority to enforce, and they're recommended to enforce stricter regulations than Title V in the circumstances of private water supply in the absence of an alternative source of water.
So
that's the only exception, and unfortunately, that's us.
So I guess my answer to what you just said, Rebecca, is simply to read the sentence again. The ADU regulations prohibit local rules to be established that are more restrictive than state laws and rules.
Okay? Except in private water supply.
There's no except.
Mr. Murchison,
the language does not have an
excuse
except.
me, Mr. Murchison, may I please speak?
Don't call me Mr.
DEP
Murchison.
is very clear that and the DEP actually does have opinions about private water supplies and guidance for local boards of health with private water supplies. And it is the only exception to that statement. And your statement, I'd be willing to, I bet your statement applies to public water supply, not private water supply. And you can read it again if you like. But if it doesn't apply to private water supply, it's not. You can't use it as an argument.
No, there's nothing about public or private water supply here. It says the ADU regulations prohibit local rules to be established that are more restrictive than state laws and rules. And so therefore, it goes on to say, therefore, during the permitting process, Title V should be adhered to. Then it goes on to say that there are instances where a city or town may be able to require upgrades, additions, or entirely new septic systems, which is appropriate. In other words, if the design flow for an ADU, let's say, you have a house with a 4-bedroom septic system and it has 4 bedrooms. Well, then, of course, you, the board, as the representative of the local approving authority from Title V, of course you're going to require additional capacity, either in an upgrade to the existing system, or, as I think you said, Julie, a wholly separate system for the ADU. But the point is that the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities is interpreting this law and making the statement that that it prohibits local rules being established that are going to get in the way of building an ADU. And you can certainly require an applicant for an ADU to increase the size of their septic system or to build a new separate septic system, but you need to follow Title V. It says Title V should be adhered to. And like I said, you can go to DEP, but they're not going to answer the question because they're not in the business of interpreting a new state law. That's not their job. Now, you could argue that, EOHLC is part of the state, and this was, a bill that was promoted by the governor and ultimately passed by the legislature. So it's a state law, and the housing cabinet, if you will, of Governor Healy is interpreting it to mean that only Title V can be required. And that's different from what I'm hearing from, in your discussion so far tonight. And I would encourage you, I never would ask that you take my word for it, call and talk to the people at the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, call the Attorney General and ask them whether, this frequently asked question is correct or not. But it's
Which is
not going to,
exactly why
it's
it'll
not
be
going to be
beneficial.
DEP who's going to answer the question. It's going to be the state or the governor's office, really.
Yeah, and it would be very helpful in this, exactly correct, because your point would be helpful to get both the DEP and the town council's perspective on your question.
Yeah, I mean, town council, I agree with you, Rebecca, that town council has a role here. But I would want to make sure that town council reads this, what I've just read to you, and I sent it to Daryl, and I'm happy to send it to all of you if you'd like it. I can send a link to the entire document, which is, 25 or 30 paragraphs. And what I called out in my email was, a paragraph that I just read to you, and then a link to the entire document, which is up on the state website, up on the EOHLC website. So you're right, Julie, we're not going to resolve this tonight, but I just want to make sure that the full board kind of is aware, because I think to many people in town hall who have read this particular frequently asked question from the state, they're pretty convinced that it's Title V needs to be enforced and not local regulations. But obviously, that's a decision that the board ultimately will make. Your board will ultimately make.
Whether or not an ADU precipitates the water supply being considered public water supply may be the issue you're bringing up. Because if it's considered public water supply, then DEP does get involved. And if it's considered private water supply, it's us.
I totally agree with what you just said, Rebecca. A public water supply, as I think you probably know, is triggered when you are above 12 bedrooms. So to the extent you had a house with 11 bedrooms and they wanted to build a 2-bedroom ADU, I think you could say, whoa, wait a second, that's a public water supply, guys. But because the public water supply is defined by 13 bedrooms or more. And so I agree with you. If you had a very, very large house and an ADU, you could trigger into public water supply territory, and then it would be a DEP call. Absolutely. But that's, I can't imagine that's going to be a concern, that it's going to be a situation that's going to come up. 13 bedrooms is a lot of bedrooms on a single family lot. So,
but maybe the definition wouldn't apply in that case because it's not on the same.
the rules completely change if it's a public water supply. And that means if it's 13 bedrooms or larger, I agree the rules change. I'm all set, Julie. Thank you for letting me comment.
Thank you. So it sounds like as a board, am I hearing agreement that we would like to formulate this question to at least first our town council, and then if we want to go to the AG, or if they recommend we go to the AG, that would make sense. This is a question that at least via the MAHB, many towns are wrestling with too. So we are not alone in this. That was all that I wanted to touch on with this for tonight, especially given the hour. Wanted to bring up that question and then recognize that we're going to continue to kind of pick away at the new questions that we haven't even thought about for ADUs yet. So certainly we welcome that from residents, especially if you're thinking about an ADU, questions that you have, continue to send those into our staff, and then they will let us know if we need to address some of them as a board. But I think it's nice to have this as a public discussion as well, because we certainly would like to be able to support this kind of housing when it's appropriate in town. All right, why don't we move on? If there's no more comments from the board, I'm not seeing anybody. Even though I am trying to move us along because it's getting late. Why don't we go ahead with the ratification of the food permit for Tailgate Gourmet Catering for an event that was held at Silverwood Farm on July 3rd. I'm trying to pull that up now to see. I believe this is a standard ratification, but I'm trying to find where it is in my, here we go. Yeah. Oh, I guess it's in the email. I think for the per the inspection, I don't remember there being concerns. I think we just saw that inspection recently. Daryl or anyone else? Daryl, do you remember anything? Did I lose you, Daryl?
No.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve or to ratify the food permit for Tailgate Gourmet Catering held at Silverwood Farms on July 3rd?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Okay, excellent. Let's move down to minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. Both are from June 4th and June 18th. For both, let's start with June 4th. For June 4th, I submitted a couple of edits that elaborated where I thought there needed to be more detail per the discussion that was held. I think that was the one with the is that the one with the beaver permits? I'm sorry, I don't have my comments up, but I wanted to elaborate more the current situation, and that's what I added there. Otherwise, I'm ready to approve those. How about other folks? Any substantive edits?
Not for me.
Edits.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the June 4th, 2025 minutes with submitted edits?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Perfect. And moving to the 18th of June, it was the same thing. Sorry, I reviewed these a little while ago. I remember there was something where I elaborated some detail where I thought that the draft just needed a little more detail, but that was my only edits. Anyone else?
Nope.
Oh,
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the June 18th, 2025 minutes with submitted edits?
so moved.
Seconded.
Hearing no further discussion.
Steve Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Daryl Beardsley, aye.
Woohoo. Agenda items, that's the last thing, right? I actually did not get to check in, noting that this will be on the August 20th, this meeting. Remember if we move that date. We voted to move that a week later. I have not checked in. Maybe Mark knows. I didn't get to check in with Jean, or maybe even if Sarah, if you know, please let us know if we have a variance hearing on the 20th or not.
I do not believe so. I'm trying to remember. We did get a plan in, I believe, but no, that was just the new plan for 22 curves. So I haven't seen any plans come in, and I have heard from the designer for some of the septic plans. He's doing a good portion of them that he's backlogged. So we may see a lot of plans coming in, but I don't know of any for the month of August for that meeting.
Okay.
I think that was up tomorrow.
Oh, no worries. The agenda doesn't get posted until 48 hours before. This is just an opportunity for the board to continue, just to kind of discuss what we might want to add. I certainly would tentatively continue our discussion on ADUs. The specific topic to be continued as depending on what we're gonna chip away at next time or discuss. If we have follow-up from the question that we discussed today, then we can certainly do that. But I think kind of continuing to put that on the radar as long as we don't have a overwhelming agenda. Anybody else? It's okay to have.
I'll just mention before we adjourn that I have the link for the full FAQs and I've been sending it out.
The full FAQs, is that the DEP AD?
That Bob was referencing, so I went to the
Oh, the
website to have it,
EOHLC.
and I'm going to email it to everyone.
Thank you. And it might make sense for us for the two DEP guidance documents that we're working with. I wonder if it even makes sense for us to post those on our website for quick access for homeowners who might be thinking about an ADU, just if they're trying to go someplace.
Yeah, let's think about which, because obviously there's this one that Bob has been talking about, and actually now I see he's already emailed, but there are certainly other relevant references to be posting too.
Right, and what I was referring to were two documents from DEP in April. One was an FAQs, which might be a little more homeowner specific. The other is in regards to compliance. I don't think it would hurt to put that up there. I'm just not quite sure what folks might be looking for or what would be helpful to individual homeowners, but I would think at least the FAQs. But I can work with Sarah, I can work with you offline. We can maybe review that and think about it. All right.
Sounds good. I just wanted to say one quick thing. Just I'm gonna email everyone from the board separately about just connecting offline, just one-on-one. So just look out for that.
Sounds great.
That's all. Also building the shoe rack right now. So.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
There will be no further discussion, please.
Constantine, aye.
Julie Dreyfus, aye.
Rebecca Honeywell, aye.
Carol Beardsley, aye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, guys.